They called him the Wolf of Gangnam, Kang Jiho, 32 years old. 6 feet of calculated violence wrapped in Armani suits and cold silence. He controlled Seoul's underworld like a conductor controls an orchestra. With precision, with brutality, with the kind of power that made politicians bow and rivals disappear. His empire, import-export fronts, masking weapons trades, real estate monopolies, and underground casinos that swallowed fortunes whole. His reputation? A man who'd smile at you over dinner and have your body dumped in the Han River by dessert. He was untouchable, unreachable, a predator in a city full of prey. And then there was her, Zara Williams, 20 years old, born in Chicago, raised on survival and stubbornness. She was nobody, the daughter of a dead American soldier who'd gambled away his honor and left her with a debt she never asked for, $500,000. That's what her father owed the Kang family when he died in that accident 3 years ago. That's what brought Zara to Seoul, processed like cargo, delivered to the Wolf's den as payment. Not as a servant, not as a mistress, as a bride forced marriage. International legitimacy for the Kang syndicate. A green card stamped in blood and signatures. But here's what nobody expected. On December 15th, in a wedding hall filled with 200 witnesses, mafia bosses, corrupt officials, and silent bodyguards, the ceremony stopped. A DNA test routine, required by Korean law for international marriages. The clerk opened the envelope. His hands shook. I'm sorry, there's been a mistake. This can't be correct. Kang Jiho stepped forward, jaw tight. What is it? The clerk's voice cracked. You share 50% DNA, according to these results. Your biological half-siblings. The room exploded. Cameras flashed. Guests gasped. Madame Kang Soyan, Jiho's mother, collapsed into her chair, a smile hidden behind her fan. And Zara? She stood frozen in her white hanbok, the silk suddenly feeling like a noose. Because in that moment, everything shattered. The wedding, the debt, the fragile line between hatred and something far more dangerous. How did a forced marriage turn into a crime scene of buried secrets? Why did Jiho's mother smile when the truth came out? And what happens when two people discover they're bound by blood? But maybe not the blood everyone thinks. This isn't just a love story, it's a reckoning. And it started 3 months ago, on the night Zara Williams arrived in Seoul and realized she'd been sold to a man who didn't want her, but couldn't let her go. Seoul. September 12th. Rain hammered the city like accusations. The Kang compound sat in the hills of Gangnam like a fortress carved from glass and marble. Traditional Korean rooflines met modern brutality. Surveillance cameras hidden in stone lanterns, guards dressed as gardeners, every window bulletproof, every entrance monitored. It wasn't a home, it was a kingdom. And in the center of it all stood the main house, 6 floors of cold elegance where the Kang family had ruled Seoul's underworld for 3 generations. Chairman Kang Ji-sung, Jiho's father, built this empire on fear. He died 5 years ago, officially from a heart attack, though the whispers said poison. His wife, Madame Kang Soyan, inherited the title of matriarch. She wore white hanbok like armor and spoke in whispers that cut deeper than screams. She was obsessed with 2 things, bloodline purity and revenge. Her son, Kang Jiho, inherited the throne at 27. He was nothing like his father. Ji-sung was loud, violent, theatrical. Jiho was silent, surgical, efficient. He restructured the family business, eliminated reckless players, and turned chaos into clockwork. But he was also trapped. Trapped by duty, by legacy, by the weight of a name soaked in blood. His inner circle was small. Lee Min-ho, his right hand since childhood, loyal to the bone. The elders, old men who treated Jiho like a temporary king, and his mother who watched him like a spider watches a fly. Into this world came Zara. She arrived on a September night, escorted by 2 men in black suits who didn't speak English. They drove her through Seoul's neon-lit streets, so beautiful, so alien, and deposited her at the compound gates. A servant led her to a guest wing. Small room, clean sheets, barred windows. Not a guest, a prisoner. Madame Soyan visited the next morning. She studied Zara like livestock. You will learn our customs, she said in perfect, clipped English. You will dress appropriately. You will speak when spoken to. You are here to fulfill a contract. My son needs an American wife for business purposes. You will play your role. In return, your father's debt is erased and you may leave after 3 years. Zara's jaw clenched. And if I refuse? Madame Soyen smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. Then the debt transfers to your mother, and her health is already so fragile, isn't it? Checkmate. Zara spent the next 3 months learning to survive. She was assigned language tutors, etiquette coaches, and handlers who watched her every move. She was fitted for clothes she'd never wear, taught dances she'd never enjoy, and paraded through rehearsal dinners like a show pony. The servants whispered about her in Korean, thinking she didn't understand. Mrs. Choi, an older housemaid, was the only one who showed kindness. She'd slip Zara extra food, teach her Korean phrases in secret. "Why are you helping me?" Zara asked one night. Mrs. Choi's eyes were sad. "Because I knew someone like you once. A girl trapped here, she didn't survive." The wedding was set for December 15th, and Zara had exactly 3 months to figure out how to escape a prison made of silk and steel. But everything changed when she finally met him, the wolf himself, Kang Jiho. Their first meeting was not romantic. November 3rd. The formal engagement ceremony. 200 guests. Politicians, CEOs, and men whose smiles hid body counts. Zara was dressed in a pale pink hanbok, hair pulled tight, makeup perfect. She looked like a doll, felt like a fraud. She stood on a raised platform beside an empty chair, waiting. The room fell silent. Kang Jiho entered. He moved like water, smooth, inevitable, cold, black suit tailored to perfection, hair swept back, eyes dark, unreadable. He didn't look at the crowd. He looked at her, and for 3 long seconds, Zara forgot to breathe. He climbed the platform, stood beside her, close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive like cedar and smoke. The officiant began the ceremonial speech in Korean. Jiho's expression never changed. Zara leaned slightly toward him and whispered in English, "Do you even want this?" His eyes flicked to her. His voice was low, barely audible. "What I want is irrelevant. Then we have something in common." His jaw tightened. Almost a smile? Almost. The ceremony continued. They were declared engaged. The crowd applauded. Jiho's hand brushed hers as they bowed together. She felt a jolt. Electric. Unwanted. After the ceremony, Madame Soyan hosted a private dinner. Jiho sat across from Zara, his mother, at the head of the table. Liamino stood in the corner, silent bodyguard. Madame Soyan spoke in rapid Korean to Jiho. Zara caught fragments. Words like acceptable, temporary, useful. Jiho responded in Korean, his tone flat. Madame Soyan's eyes narrowed. Then Jiho switched to English. He looked directly at Zara. "My mother says you have adequate appearance and sufficient English for American clients. She's pleased." Zara set down her chopsticks. "I'm so glad I meet her livestock standards." Lee Min-ho coughed to hide a laugh. Jiho's eyes stayed on her. "You have fire. That's unexpected." "You thought I'd be a doormat. I thought you'd be afraid." "I am," Zara said evenly. "But I'm also tired and angry, and those things make fear less important." For the first time, Jiho's expression shifted, something like respect. Madame Soyen snapped in Korean. Jiho answered curtly, then stood. "Dinner is over. I'll escort you to your quarters." He walked her through the compound in silence. The night air was cold, their breath visible. Finally, Zara spoke. "You avoid touching me." Jiho stopped, turned. "What? You flinch when we're close, like I'm contagious." He studied her, calculating. "You're not what I expected. You said that already. I mean, you're..." He cut himself off. Looked away. "It doesn't matter. This marriage is business, nothing more." "Good," Zara said. "Because I don't plan to be here long." Jiho's eyes darkened. "There's nowhere for you to go. The moment you step outside this compound without permission, you're fair game for my enemies. Or worse, the Beak family. They'd love leverage against me. So I'm a prisoner. You're protected." "Same thing." Jiho stepped closer, too close, dropped. "You think you understand this world? You don't. The men here would destroy you for fun. The women would sell you for status. You hate me? Fine, but I'm the only reason you're still breathing." Zara held his gaze. "Then maybe you should have let me suffocate." Something flashed in his eyes. Anger? Hurt? He walked away without another word, and Zara realized 2 things. 1, Kang Jiho was dangerous. 2, she was starting to see him as human, and that was the most dangerous thing of all. December 14th, the day before the wedding. The pre-wedding reception was held in the compound's grand hall. Over 200 guests, mafia bosses from Busan, politicians from the Blue House, key bowls dripping in diamonds. Zara stood near the entrance in her ceremonial hanbok, feeling like an exhibit. Guests stared. Some smiled. Most assessed her like stock value. Madame Soyeon held court near the center, surrounded by Seoul's elite. Jiho was across the room, speaking in low tones with Lee Min-ho and 3 older men, council elders. Zara scanned the exits, memorized the guards' positions. She'd been doing this for 3 months, survival instinct. Then she noticed him. A catering staff member, mid-20s, moving too quickly. His eyes locked on Madame Soyeon, his right hand inside his jacket. Zara's pulse spiked. Nobody else saw it. The guards were watching the guests, not the staff. The man moved, pulled a knife, lunged toward Madame Soyeon. Zara reacted. 3 steps. She grabbed his wrist mid-strike, twisted his arm behind his back, using a Brazilian jiu-jitsu lock her uncle, ex-Marine, had drilled into her since she was 12. The knife clattered to the floor. She slammed her elbow into his temple. Precise, controlled, and he dropped unconscious. 3 seconds. The entire room froze. 200 people. Total silence. Madame Soyeon stared, eyes wide. The guards finally moved, surrounding the unconscious attacker. And across the room, Kang Jiho stood utterly still, his gaze locked on Zara. Lee Min-ho reached for his concealed gun, then stopped, mouth slightly open. Zara straightened, breathing hard. She looked at Jiho. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes, they burned. He crossed the room in long strides, waved the guards back, and stopped in front of Zara. "Who trained you?" She met his gaze. "Life. That wasn't self-defense. That was tactical disarmament. Who taught you?" "My uncle, former Marine. He said a woman needed to know how to break bones before men tried to break hers." Gio's jaw tightened. He looked at the unconscious attacker, then back at Zara. "You just saved my mother's life. Don't thank me. I wasn't thinking. No, you were reacting, which means you've done this before." Zara didn't answer. Jiho turned to Lee Min-ho. "Background check. Everything. Military family training history associations." Now Lee Min-ho nodded and disappeared. Madame Soyeon approached, pale but composed. She spoke to Jiho in rapid Korean. Zara caught the words dangerous and weapon. Jiho responded coldly. Madame Soyeon's eyes narrowed, but she nodded and walked away. Jiho leaned close to Zara, his voice low. "You're not just a debt anymore. You're a variable. A weapon someone planted in my house. Nobody planted me. I'm here because your family held my mother hostage." "Then explain how you fight like special forces." "I fight like a girl from Chicago who learned that men don't ask permission." Jiho studied her, fascination and suspicion warring in his eyes. "You're either the best actress I've ever met or the most dangerous woman in this room." "Maybe both," he almost smiled. "Almost. The wedding is tomorrow. After today, everyone will be watching you. My mother will dig into your past. The Beek family will see you as leverage. You just made yourself a target." "I was always a target," Zara said. "At least now they know I bite back." Jiho's eyes darkened with something she couldn't name. "Good," he said quietly. "You'll need that here." And for the first time since arriving in Seoul, Zara felt something shift. She wasn't invisible anymore. She was seen, and in Kang Jiho's world, being seen meant being hunted or protected. She wasn't sure which terrified her more. December 15th, wedding day, Zara woke at dawn. The sky outside her window was gray, heavy with snow that hadn't fallen yet. Mrs. Choi brought her breakfast, rice porridge, tea, and a folded piece of paper. "What's this?" Zara asked. Mrs. Choi glanced at the door, then whispered in broken English. "Be careful, Madame Soyeon. She knows things. About your father, about Chairman Kang. She hides big secret." "What secret?" "I don't know all. But your father, Marcus Williams, he was here long time ago. In 1998, he knew someone, a woman, Korean woman." Zara's pulse quickened. "Who?" "Her name was Han Soo-jin, translator, American base. She disappeared after Chairman Kang, after something happened." "What happened?" Mrs. Choi shook her head. "I say too much already. Just be careful. Today everything changes." She left before Zara could ask more. Zara unfolded the paper. An address in Busan and a name, Han Soo-jin. Her hands trembled. Meanwhile, across the compound, Jiho stood in his father's old study. Lee Min-ho handed him a file. Zara Williams, deep background? You're not going to like this. Jiho opened it. Inside, military records, financial documents, immigration papers, and a photograph. Marcus Williams, U.S. Army, stationed in Seoul, 1998-1999. Standing beside him in the photo, a young Korean woman. Beautiful, smiling. Jiho's blood went cold. Who is she? Lee Min-ho hesitated. We're still confirming, but there are rumors. Your father had an affair in 1998. A translator from the American base. She got pregnant. He paid her off. She disappeared. Jiho's voice was ice. And you think this woman is connected to Zara? We don't know, but the timeline matches. Marcus Williams was stationed here the same year. If he was involved with the same woman, Jiho slammed the file shut. The wedding is in 6 hours, we proceed. But I want answers. Find this woman. Find out what my father did. And Zara? Jiho's jaw tightened. She's either a victim or a spy. Either way, I need to know. The wedding preparations moved forward like a machine. Zara was dressed in a traditional white hanbok, layers of silk heavy as chains. Makeup artists painted her face. Hairdressers pinned her curls into submission. She looked in the mirror and didn't recognize herself. Madame Soyan entered, her expression cold satisfaction. You look acceptable, she said in English. Today you become a Kang. Remember your place. And what place is that? Zara asked quietly. Temporary, disposable, useful, Zara turned. Why do you hate me? Madame Soyan smiled. I don't hate you, child. And that's when the debt collectors came. They said he owed your family $500,000. And you believed them. I had no choice. They had documents, contracts, and they threatened my mom. Jiho exhaled slowly. My father was many things, but he was meticulous. If he had an affair, if he paid someone off, there would be records, hidden but findable. And your mother, she knew. She orchestrated this, Jiho said bitterly. She wanted me humiliated. She wanted the family scandal exposed. Revenge for every affair, every insult my father threw at her. Zara's voice was quiet. Do you think it's true that I don't know, but I intend to find out. Silence stretched between them. Then Zara asked, what did you feel before you knew? Jiho's eyes met hers. What? When we met, when we were close, did you feel anything? He didn't answer immediately. When he spoke, his voice was raw. I felt like I'd met someone who understood what it was like to be trapped. Someone who saw through the power and the fear to the prison underneath. I felt less alone. Zara's throat tightened. Me too. But if this is true, then it's biology, not us. Is there a difference? I don't know, Zara whispered. I don't know anything anymore. Jiho stood, walked to the window. Snow had started falling, soft and relentless. My father destroyed people, he said quietly. He ruined lives for profit. He had a twin brother, my uncle, Kang Jiho. The family doesn't talk about him. He was sent to America in the 90s for business. He died in a plane crash in 1999. My father erased him from our history. Why? Because Jiho wanted out. He wanted to go legitimate. My father saw that as betrayal. Zara absorbed this. You're not like your father. How do you know? Because you're here talking to me, trying to find the truth instead of burying it. Jiho turned, and for the first time she saw exhaustion in his eyes. I'm trying, but I don't know if it's enough. Knock at the door. Lee Min-ho entered holding a tablet. I found her, he said. Han Soo-jin. She's alive, living in Busan under a different name. And she's willing to talk, but we have to go now. The Beek family is moving. They know about the scandal. They're planning to hit us within 48 hours. Jiho looked at Zara. You don't have to come. She stood. Yes, I do. This is my life too. He nodded. Then we leave in an hour. And Zara? Yeah. Whatever we find out, it doesn't change one thing. What's that? You're not alone in this. And despite everything, the fear, the betrayal, the impossibility of it all, Zara felt a sliver of hope. Because Kang Jiho, the Wolf of Gangnam, had chosen to stand beside her. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. They left Seoul at midnight. Jiho drove. Zara sat in the passenger's seat, still in the hanbok because there was no time to change. Lee Min-ho followed in a second car with 3 armed guards. The roads to Busan were dark, winding through mountains where the snow fell heavier. Neither of them spoke for the first hour. Finally, Jiho broke the silence. If it's true, if we are related, Zara cut him off. Don't, I have to say it. If we're siblings, then what I felt, what I was starting to feel, it's wrong. And if we're not, then my mother orchestrated this for nothing. And we still have to survive the fallout. Zara stared out the window. I don't want to be your sister. I don't want you to be either. The confession hung in the air like smoke. They arrived in Busan at 4 a.m. The address led to a modest apartment building in a quiet neighborhood. 3rd floor. Unit 302. Jiho knocked. An older woman answered, mid-50s, graying hair, tired eyes. She looked at Jiho, then at Zara, and tears filled her eyes. You have his eyes, she whispered in Korean, then in English, D-Sung's eyes. Zara's voice shook. Are you Han Soo-jin? The woman nodded. Come in, quickly. Inside, the apartment was small but clean. Photos on the walls, mostly landscapes, a few of a young woman who looked like Han Soo-jin decades ago. They sat. Lee Min-ho stood by the door, hand near his gun. Han Soo-jin looked at Zara with a mix of sorrow and relief. I knew this day would come, she said. I prayed it wouldn't, but I knew. Yo leaned forward. Tell us everything. From the beginning. Han Soo-jin nodded. I was 23. A translator at the U.S. Army base in Seoul. I met Kang Jiho at a business day. He was charming, powerful, dangerous. I was young and foolish. We had an affair. You got pregnant, Zara said. Yes. When I told him, he offered me money, $50,000. He said if I kept the baby, he'd destroy me. If I disappeared, he'd leave me alone, so you took the money. Han Soo-jin's voice cracked. I took the money, but I couldn't raise a child alone. I was terrified, so I reached out to Marcus Williams, a kind American soldier who'd been courting me before I met D-Sung. I told him the truth, and he offered to take the baby, to raise her as his own. Zara's breath caught. He knew I wasn't his. He knew, and he loved you anyway. He said every child deserves a father, and he would be yours. Tears streamed down Zara's face. Jiho's voice was tight. So Zara is my father's daughter. My half-sister. Han Soo-jin looked at him, and then she said the words that shattered everything. No, she's not. Silence. Jiho froze. What? I didn't sleep with Kang Ji-sung. You just said. I said I had an affair with someone at that dinner, someone I thought was Ji-sung, but it wasn't. Zara's voice was a whisper. Then Han Soo-jin stood, walked to a drawer, pulled out a faded photograph and handed it to Jiho. 2 men, identical. Standing side by side, Kang Ji-sung and his twin brother, Kang Joon-ho. Jiho stared at the photo. My uncle. I didn't know Ji-sung had a twin. Joon-ho introduced himself as Ji-sung. We had an affair. I got pregnant. When I told him, he panicked. He said his brother would kill him if he found out. He gave me the money, not Ji-sung, but Joon-ho, and begged me to disappear. And you did. I did. And Joon-ho died a year later, playing Crash. Or so they said. Jiho's hands trembled. So Zara's my uncle's daughter, not my father's. Yes. Which makes her my cousin, not my sister. Yes. The room spun. Zara looked at Jiho. He looked at her. We're not siblings, she breathed. No, Jiho said. We're not. Relief, confusion, grief. Han Soo-jin pulled out another envelope. I had this done years ago. A private DNA test. I saved samples. Yours, Zara, from when you were a baby, and Joon-ho's from a hairbrush. I kept it in case this day came. She handed it to Jiho. Test it yourself. But I'm telling you the truth. She's not Ji-sung's daughter. She's Joon-ho's. Lee Min-ho took the envelope. I'll have our lab verify 2 hours. Jiho nodded numbly. Zara stood, legs shaking. So, Marcus, he knew all of this? He knew you were Joon-ho's child, and he took the debt deliberately, to protect you. Because Ji-sung found out years later about the affair. He would have hunted you down. Marcus made himself the target instead. Zara collapsed into sobs. Jiho moved instinctively, wrapping his arms around her. She clung to him. He saved me, she whispered. He died saving me. He did. Han Soo-jin said quietly. He was a good man. 2 hours later, Lee Min-ho's phone buzzed. He read the results, looked at Jiho. 12.5% match. First cousins once removed, not siblings. Jiho exhaled like he'd been underwater. The wedding DNA test was correct in percentage. We share significant DNA because Sung and Junho were identical twins. But the interpretation was wrong. We're family, just not that kind of family. Zara looked up at him, eyes red but clear. We're not breaking any laws. No, Jiho said. We're not. And in that moment, in a stranger's apartment in Busan, surrounded by secrets and snow, they allowed themselves to breathe. But the relief was short-lived, because outside, 3 black SUVs pulled up. Beak family soldiers, they'd been followed. Lee Min-ho drew his gun. We need to move. Now, the ambush was fast and brutal. 6 armed men, Beak family colors. They surrounded the building's entrance, cutting off escape. Jiho pulled Zara behind him. Lee Min-ho took position by the window. Back exit? Jiho asked. Blocked, Lee Min-ho said. They planned this. Han Soo-jin's face went pale. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. They must have been watching me. Jiho's mind raced. How many guards do we have? 3 in the car downstairs. They're pinned. 6 attackers, 3 guards, 2 of us. Jiho looked at Zara. Can you fight? She nodded, adrenaline kicking in. Yes. Then we fight. Lee Min-ho tossed her a spare pistol. You know how to use this? My uncle made sure Ho's plan was simple. Create a diversion, break through the front, get to the cars. On my count, 3, 2. The door exploded inward chaos. Lee Min-ho fired first, dropping 1 attacker instantly. Jiho moved like a shadow, grabbed the second attacker's wrist, twisted, disarmed him, delivered a brutal knee strike. Zara saw a 3rd attacker coming at her. She raised the gun, fired, missed. He lunged. She dropped low, swept his legs, and as he fell, she slammed the gun into his temple. He went down. Move, Jiho shouted. They ran down the stairs, gunfire echoing. Lee Min-ho covered their retreat, taking out another 2 attackers. They reached the ground floor. The guards had the cars running. But the Beak family leader, a scarred man in his 40s, stood between them and freedom, gun raised. Kang Jiho, he said in Korean. The wolf cornered at last. Jiho responded in Korean, voice cold. Lee Min-ho translated for Zara. You want me, then face me. Leave her out of this. The Beak leader laughed. Her! She's the best part. The bastard bride, the scandal that'll destroy you. Jiho stepped forward. You won't touch her, or what? Sirens wailed in the distance. The Beak leader hesitated. Lee Min-ho grinned. Mrs. Choi tipped the Busan police. They're 30 seconds out. The Beak soldiers scattered. The leader spat on the ground. This isn't over, he fled. Jiho grabbed Zara's hand. Go now. They piled into the car. Lee Min-ho drove, tires screaming. Police cars arrived just as they rounded the corner. Inside the car, Zara was shaking. Jiho's shoulder was bleeding, grazed by a bullet. You're hurt, she said. I'm fine. You're bleeding. I said I'm fine. She grabbed his arm, forced him to look at her. Stop pretending you're invincible. His eyes softened, old habit. Lee Min-ho glanced in the rearview mirror. We have the DNA proof. We have Han Soo-jin's testimony. We can expose Madame Soyeon's scheme and clear the scandal. And the Beak family, Zara asked. We can, Jiho said, but not gone. We need to move fast. Then let's go back to Seoul, Zara said, and end this. Jiho looked at her. This woman who'd been a stranger 3 months ago, a prisoner, a pawn. Now she was something else entirely. An ally, a partner, maybe more. Together, he asked. Together, she said. And as the car raced through the dawn, they made their plan, not as victim and captor, but as equals. They returned to Seoul at noon. The compound was in chaos. News of the wedding scandal had leaked. Media camped outside the gates. The family council was in emergency session. Jiho walked into the main hall with Zara at his side, Lee Min-ho behind them. Madame Soyeon sat at the head of the table, surrounded by elders. She looked up, expression unreadable. You should have stayed away, she said coldly. Jiho threw the DNA results onto the table. Zara is not my sister. She's my cousin, daughter of Kang Jiho. We're better than good. A knock at the door. Lee Min-ho entered, tablet in hand. Chinese triad is pushing into Busan. They want a meeting. They see the transition as weakness. Zara straightened. Then we show them they're wrong. Jiho glanced at her, eyebrow raised. You want in on this? I'm your partner, aren't I? Yes, he said, pride in his voice. You are. They walked together into the office, side by side, equals. That night they sat on the balcony under the stars. You know, Zara said, 6 months ago I was a prisoner here, and now I'm home. Jiho took her hand. I never believed in fate. I thought everything was strategy, calculation, control. But you made me believe in something else. What's that? That sometimes the best things in life are the ones you don't plan. The ones that break all your rules. Zara laughed, the Wolf of Gangnam going soft only for you. She rested her head on his shoulder. Good, because I'm not going anywhere. Promise? Promise. The city lights twinkled below, a sea of possibilities. Somewhere out there, threats lingered, rivals plotted, challenges waited. But for now and this moment they had each other. Two people who'd been forced together by debt and deception, who'd survived betrayal, violence, and impossible truths, who'd chosen against all odds to stay, because family isn't just blood, it's choice. And Kang Jiho and Zara Williams had chosen each other, not as master and prisoner, not as predator and prey, but as partners, as equals, as something worth fighting for. If you believe that family is what you make it, not what you're born into, subscribe now and comment where you're watching from. This story isn't over. It's only just begun. And trust me, what comes next, you won't want to miss.